Hello.
Hello. I'm sorry, student. Due to some technical issue, it's automatically my video was ended, and I was talking, and I was unaware that it already ended. Uh, so uh, let me go to the present mode again. Uh, I'm sorry for that. I was telling that your block one, the block one consisting of four unit, and that unit one is about the general concept of nationalism, which is uh, Indian your different, which is prevailed in the different part of world, and how this new knowledge tradition called nation and nation state, and what will be the uh, what was the concept behind this nationalism was emerged in Europe in 18th, 17th century with the American War of Independence, French revolutions, and Germany unification and Italy unification as the best example we know. And there are three, four definition you should first you should see. The first is this Anderson. Your unit one has the all these definitions from the various philosopher that what do you mean by nation. First is Anderson, then Gilbert, then Partha Chatterjee's book from the Subaltern group. So we'll discuss that. I will tell you briefly. The second unit is about the anti-colonial movement in Asia and Africa. How this anti-colonial resistance, the influence of colonial rule in these third world countries of Asia and Africa, created this sense of nationalism, and not as an indigenous idea, but as the uh, but as a creation created the knowledge created by the West. Okay. The third and fourth unit is devoted to completely Indian national the issue of Indian nationalism and the various idea like colonialist, nationalist, Marxist perspective of Indian nationalism, and how India is different than any other South Asian or Asian countries. How one scholar or the historian should look at these issues of nationalism in India. The other two trends, which is Cambridge and Subaltern School, have their different opinion regarding Indian nationalism. So this unit one, two, three, four has one is about the general understanding for what is nationalism, definitions, various aspects. Second unit is how the African and Asian countries created their own national ideas, the philosophies of how what should be a nation, and So the idea of
मैं देखूंगा मैडम में
this is due to the PowerPoint slides. I think this problem is happening, so I'm not showing it anymore. Uh, but I wanted to share some of this view of, for example, this Benedict Anderson, who was a leading theorist of nationalism and nation state. He says, and this is one of the important aspect of your syllabus, that when we speak of nationalism, we speak of a period between 18th and 20th century, and it was during this period that a large number of small local community began to transform into a larger and homogeneous community. So this idea is a imaginative idea, not a social or culturally constructed idea. This largeness of number was replaced by largeness of size, that how many countries are there, like that Germany unification, there are 32 regional state where emerged as a German state, or the American confederacy. That new solidarity, according to this Anderson, this new solidarity began to develop, that they were somewhat impersonal in nature. You can't take things personally, means you can't think like your caste, like I am a Brahmin or I'm a Kshatriya, I should think like that, or that should think like that. Nationalism, the idea of nationalism is devoid of these things called personal. It is completely impersonal. You have to make certain agenda, certain point, uh, as a collectively, which will be a constructive idea, and for all the people, for everyone. This idea, like voting system, like representation, like getting a job opportunities, or taking admissions. You can't create different rules and regulation for different people, and that groups an individual not familiar with another, means you are not familiar with the other part of this, the people sitting in the other part of the country began to look upon themselves as a member of this newly created and largely invisible community called the nation. This the idea is invisible. This is completely is a process of imagination, and most community in history, like your village or the ganas sanghas, they were constructed on the basis of some familiarity, familiar so far as geographical location is concerned, or the caste is concerned, some caste group is there, was some religious group was there. But this 18th 17th century, the model of nation was created is completely uh, based on this unfamiliarity. You are not familiar, you may not be familiar with this other group, but you are a part of one nation. India is a country of multicultural, multi-religion, and but that doesn't mean the citizen in the other part of the country is not Indian, and you are he is as Indian like you are. So that was the main fundamental theory was given by Benedict Anderson, and that is important. You can read that in your first block and first unit. Leading,
Hello,
yes, yes.
ma'am. Can you teach us any Hindi?
I don't know because there are different students are there who will not be uh, comfortable with the Hindi. I don't know. I will go
No,
bilingual. If you insist so much, I will go
ma'am.
bilingual.
Ma'am, I think everyone should understand Hindi better than English.
Okay. Let me see. Due to this, some issues, I'm unable to present my slides, but I will explain. I can't explain everything in Hindi because I don't think I'm much fluent in that. Uh,
Uh, so, ma'am, if it possible, you speak in English, but maximum you use Hindi. It is, I think, it is best for others and also uh, many students.
I don't think, let me see, but let me see how much I can say on Hindi, okay? So,
Yes, yes.
like this, and the other definition, the definition by Ernest Gallner, uh, जैसे कि मैंने बोला कि आपका तीन theory you have to understand while understanding this nationalism issue. The first is your Anderson, second theory given by this Ernest Gallner, and the third theory is Partha Chatterjee's book, The Question of Nationalism, something like that. You can write his name, and it is there in your Google, your this IGNOU material also, because this whole IGNOU material is confined to that syllabus also. He has done a lot of work on the issues of particularly Indian nationalism. How कैसे इंडियन नेशन को आप डिस्क्राइब करोगे separately from what concept was given by the Western philosopher or Western nation building. This new feature, Gardner told that this new feature of the condition also becoming defining feature of nationalism and nation state. Another, he says in his book that nationalism is primarily a political principle. इट इज नॉट ए सोशल, ये कल्चर से जुड़ा हुआ नहीं है कि सोसाइटी से जुड़ा हुआ आपका इंडिजिनियस आइडिया नहीं है. दिस इज ए कंप्लीटली पॉलिटिकल प्रिंसिपल. इट इज कंस्ट्रक्टेड थ्रू नैरेटिव्स. नेशनलिज्म इज ए सेंटिमेंट और इज ए मूवमेंट. इसको आप सेंटिमेंट, एक फीलिंग के थ्रू में ले सकते हो. लाइक व्हाट एंडरसन हैज सेज दैट देयर इज नथिंग अबाउट फेमिलियरिटी. वन ग्रुप मे बी डिफरेंट देन अदर ग्रुप. कल्चरली आप अलग हो सकते हो, आप रिलीजन वाइज अलग हो सकते हो, आपका लैंग्वेज अलग हो सकता है, बट यू आर क्रिएटिंग ए अनदर आइडिया कॉल्ड नेशन, वेयर द स्मॉलर ग्रुप अरेंज टुगेदर and creating a nation. So that these two definition is uh, very clearly demarcating the idea of nationalism or nation building was there. So the nationalist sentiment is the feeling of anger aroused by the violation of the principle, or the feeling of satisfaction aroused by the fulfillment. That was the Gardner's point. That फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंडिया में आपका कॉन्सेप्ट था राष्ट्र संघ राज्य. आपका दिल्ली सुल्तानेट के टाइम में भी था, अशोक के टाइम में भी आपका एक इंपेरियल स्टेट था. बट बट was there any representation? Was there any representation? Can you tell them they are equivalent to nation? What the definition of nation was created in this 18th century philosopher in Europe. So that was the problem. So you have three. You should understand that I will go briefly because 15 minutes may I have to cover that. Uh, in India, when we are talking about the Indian nationalism, these three school of thought is important, very important. Five school of thought is very important. First is colonial school of thought, where this James Mill, Vincent Smith, they wrote about India, British India, not India, India not as a separate state, but as a colonial state, and how Indian are depending on the Britishers to make India as a better place, a civilized place. Okay, their work. The second nationalist school, Dadabhai Naroji and Ramesh Chandra Dutt, were the first nationalist writers who wrote the economic history of India and the drain of wealth theory. Then Bal Gangadhar Tilak. There was a book also written by Lala Lajpat Rai. These nationalist thinkers uh, wrote about Indian glorious past, ancient India, and they talk about Ashoka Gupta's golden age of Guptas, uh, given the glorious examples of Indian past and literature, culture, tradition. हमारे गण सब political कोटेले अर्थशास्त्र का example दे, स्मृतिज का example दे रहे हैं, वेदांत के राजन का philosophy का example दे रहे हैं. Their nation state, the concept of nation state defined by this nationalist historian was different. Now the third major school was Marxist school of thought. Now the Marxist school of thought also looking this the the question of nation in India from the Western perspective. Now the Marx का जो philosophy है, that is created in West, that also, excuse me, uh, that Marx, actually mute, please try to mute yourself. Hello, Naresh, please mute yourself. Hello, Naresh, can you mute yourself, please? Uh, okay, sorry. Forget that. So, R.P. Dutt was formulated this most influential Marxist interpretation of Indian nationalism in his book called India Today, where and A.R. Desai in his book Background of Indian Nationalism in 1948. Bipan Chandra has his book The Rise and Growth of Economic Nationalism in India, wrote down in 1966. These are the book from the Marxist approach, but there are some uh, uh, controversies associated with the Marxist interpretation of nationalism also. Uh, they basically talked on the behalf of Indian National Congress, and they saw the India also from this Marxist point of view, which is itself a Western philosophy, which is not formulated in India or never been succeeded in India. The third is Cambridge School of Thought. Now, the main important person associated with Cambridge School of Thought is Anil Seal. Anil Seal book on Indian nationalism and the question of nationalism. बेसिकली कैम्ब्रिज स्कूल इज वो उनके बिहाफ में बात करते हैं, ब्रिटेन के बिहाफ में. इट टॉक ऑन द बिहाफ ऑफ दिस colonialism and capitalism. So they gave this a very vulgar type of explanation on Indian nationalism कि Indian nationalism था ही नहीं. कैम्ब्रिज स्कूल अनिल सिल का जो बुक है, he said that this the Indian people, among the between this Indian people and the colonial people, there was never uh, a controversies or conflicted arises, but it was a negotiation all the time. These political parties and the leaders of the movement negotiated with the Britishers time to time, and they talk on the behalf of sahukar, jamindar, and the elite class people. सो जो कॉमन लोगों का वॉइस कभी आया ही नहीं. एंड दैट्स व्हाई कैम्ब्रिज स्कूल द अनिल सील का जो वर्क है, ही सेड दैट दादा भाई, there are very wrong explanation also given by them, like Anil Seth wrote in his book that Dada Bhai Naroji and Narji, that they wrote this type of things बाय एग्जैजरेटिंग. वो लोग जो वैल्यू जो लिखे, जो ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ का कि इतना एक्सप्लोटेशन हुआ, वो जो अमाउंट लिखे, दैट अमाउंट इज वो ज्यादा बढ़ा के लिखा गया है, ज्यादा बढ़ा चढ़ा के लिखा गया है. द रियल वैल्यू वो नहीं लिखे. दे क्लेम दिस नेशनलिस्ट एंड मार्क्सिस्ट हिस्टोरियंस दैट ब्लेम किए कि आप लोग पॉजिटिव पॉइंट लोगों को पूरा इग्नोर किए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ रेलवे, टेलीग्राम, the development of road, government system, the education institution, the emergence of new intellectual classes, all everything was the contribution of colonialism in India. And इंडियन लोगों का उसमें कोई कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं है जो मॉडर्निटी का जो कॉन्सेप्ट डेवलप हो रहा है. सो that was the point. Dadabhai Naruji and Arsidas, they wrote these things very provocatingly, only because they want to impress people in the Oxford and Cambridge. तो वहां पर वो ब्रिटेन में वहां पर अपना जगह बना रहे थे. So these type of some few things was few things they also gone through many archival material, also wrote many things, but there are some because they neglect. I'm telling you this because they have completely neglected the sacrifices of freedom fighter. They completely neglected these the achievements and the 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 peasant and tribal movement. And that's why this fifth school, Savartan school, is important. The volume written by in 1980s by Ranjit Guha. There is that his idea of subaltern in his first volume, Subaltern Study, which is published in 1982. There are volumes, so one, two, three, there are 20 or 30 volumes written by the Ranjit Guha and their colleagues. And Partha Chatterjee, Dipesh Chakravarti, Ranjit Guru, all these are the subalternist group. They wrote volumes, and their idea was completely different, and they looked into the sources of this material, the elitist material, like because जब नेशनल मूवमेंट का बात आता है तो आर्काइव मटेरियल सेम होता है, कौन उसको कैसे देखता है दैट इज डिफरेंट. सो रंजित गुहा हैज लुक इनटू दिस सोर्सेस अगेंस्ट द ग्रेन. जैसे लिखा है उसको ऐसे नहीं देख के उसको एक अलग पॉइंट से देखे, दैट वी कॉल subaltern, the voice of these peasant and tribal people. Ranjit Guha particularly attacked historiography of Indian nationalism, that it is dominated by elitist. Either nationalist का बात, colonialist तो elitist थे ही, administrative officer, but even the nationalist and the Marxist writer were elitist. Because Amin Das, as a Marxist, he never came to India. He never wrote from the point of view of Indian economic system. He imposed his own idea of Leninist Marxist in India in 1935-50s, which is written by this the Marxist. There was a book by Kiran Mitra, and he wrote all these lacunas about this Indian Marxism. And this Ranjit Guha, he pointed out that the colonialist elitism and bourgeois nationalist elitism with these 2 points. बुजबाजीज, नेशनलिस्ट, एलिटिज्म, क्योंकि यहाँ पर कॉमन लोगों का वॉइस नहीं है, सबल्टन का वॉइस नहीं है। मुंडा संथाल रिवेलियंस हुए, पीजेंट मूवमेंट हुए, वेयर इज देयर आइडिया? Because a small point I want to say, because Bipan Chandra has worked a lot on this peasant and tribal movement. Now, as a PG student, you will ask me that how Bipan Chandra is different than or the any other Marxists were different than the subaltern group. I will say this Marxist historian wrote from the same point of view कि colonialism आया, then उसके against में reaction हो रहा है, they are fighting against these Britishers, all these things without, and they were ignored this political consciousness of this peasant community, peasant and tribal. Their idea was, according to Guha, that all type of elitist history have one thing in common, and that is absence of politics of the people from their account. They have ignored this local politics, कि वहां पर वो चीजें कैसे emerge कर रही है, कैसे आपका बिरसा मुंडा is declared as the voice of God among these tribal people, and how why the people are following this leader Kanhu and Sidhu and the tribal leader. These things was taken by the Ranjit Guha. He criticized the three main trend in historiography: the colonialist, which saw the colonial rule as the fulfillment of a mission of enlightened the ignorant people. कॉलोनियलिस्ट बोल रहा है कि आप कॉलोनियलिस्ट हिस्टोग्राफी देख रहे हैं, बोल रहे हैं कि लोग तो बैकवर्ड हैं, अनसिविलाइज्ड हैं, स्नेक चार्मर्स हैं, रोप क्लाइंबर्स हैं. How will we are in a civilized mission? We are here to civilize them. Nationalist school is the reaction against the colonialist school. They took certain point from ancient history. They neglected other part of ancient history, which visualize the other Protestant activity in the people struggle. And the third, according to him, there are no attempt in this work to understand and write about the way in which certain group view in the world. They Marxist which subdues the people struggle under the progression toward a revolution. जब ये लोग लिख रहे हैं, मार्क्सिस्ट लोग लिख रहे हैं, वो लोग वो रेवोल्यूशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से लिख रहे हैं कि एक रेवोल्यूशन हो रहा है, फिर एक रेवोल्यूशन हो रहा है, एलिटिस्ट लोग डोमिनेट कर रहे हैं, फिर जो ऑपरेशन क्लास उसमें रेज कर रहे हैं, बट दे आर नॉट राइटिंग फ्रॉम द सबल्टन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. ए वेरी क्लियर रिमार्क इन हिज एसे, there was a essay, The Prose of Counter-Insurgency by Ranjit Guha. He launched a sketching attack on this existing peasant and tribal history in India for considering the peasant rebellion as purely spontaneous and unpremeditated affair, and for ignoring the consciousness of the rebel themselves. By this point, he wanted to argue that जो peasant है एक ट्राइबल रीजन में, उसका भी एक पॉलिटिकल कॉन्शियसनेस है. ही ऑल्सो नो अबाउट द वैल्यू ऑफ वैल्यू, व्हाट इज गोइंग ऑन, सरकार क्या है, देश क्या है. एंड he wanted to speak, he wanted to raise his own voice in his own term and condition, and that was ignored by the Marxist and nationalist historians. Okay. So this is the brief view I wanted to give you. uh, you can you can read more. I will suggest you to go through this block 1 igno material completely, and you can read the review of Partha Chatterjee books, Nationalism. uh, uh, let me uh, uh, let me tell you about this the concept of Partha Chatterjee, that though he was a subalternist, later post-structuralist. Uh, Partha Chatterjee had criticized this deprivative discourse of nationalism. According to him, the nationalist idea in India developed in private and more spiritual domain, seldom from dominant Western discourse in the public sphere. The construction of the imagined community has also been questioned. Now, the idea of the Partha Chatterjee, let me explain you this, what he meant by this. पार्थ चटर्जी wrote that इंडिया में बहुत सारा एलिमेंट ऐसा है जो कि वेस्ट नहीं उसको समझ सकता. द बोथ मटेरियल एंड रिलीजियस एस्पेक्ट, द फेथ एस्पेक्ट, बिलीफ एस्पेक्ट, इट इज देयर इन द इंडियन माइंड. कल्चर भी है, रिचुअल भी है, स्पिरिचुअल भी है, लोकल भी है, आपका ग्लोबल भी है, एंड ऑल दीज थिंग्स रनिंग टुगेदर. सो His book, you can only read this the review of his book for the fundamental understanding what Partha Chatterjee want to tell, but it is one of the among the good book, how to understand the Indian politics. He's writing about the post and basically this Cambridge school formed in 60s and 70s. The reason behind the emergence of Cambridge school क्यों हुआ? During this 70s, post independence के बाद, there was some political crisis in India. Political crisis like poverty, unemployment, uh, emergency by Indian National Congress. Uh, these things created this school, Cambridge school, when they rewrite this history and attacked all the previous school nationalist and Marxist. And Anil Sil was prominent, so you can read the review of Anil Sil also as a Cambridge school, what his point. So Rashtra, Sangha, Rajya, the concept was there, but you should understand it. Is it equivalent to what nationalism meant in what nationalism, the definition defined in West India, Western philosophy by Voltaire, Rousseau, and other philosopher in West. जब जर्मनी यूनिफिकेशन या इटाली यूनिफिकेशन हो रहा है, वो नेशन का आइडिया, एक लार्जर कम्युनिटी, एक लार्जर कंट्री को क्रिएट करना, एंड हाउ इट डिफरेंट इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ साउथ एशिया, स्पेशली इन इंडिया. Can you compare India with these Italian, Germany, or the French nations? How यहाँ पर मल्टी ग्रुप है, मल्टी कल्चर है, मल्टी रीजनल है, क्या स्टेट सबके लिए वॉइस दे पाएगा? बिकॉज नेशनलिज्म का कॉन्सेप्ट बोलता है हाँ देगा, वहां पर आपका पर्सनल चॉइस और कुछ नहीं रहेगा. आप यू विल नॉट टेक थिंग्स इन पर्सनली. आप रिलीजन को नहीं ले सकते, आप कास्ट कम्युनिटी को नहीं ले सकते, आपको रिजर्वेशन को बोलना होगा. तो कैन इज इट पॉसिबल इन इंडिया? So that's why Partha Chatterjee's book is very important, that how nationalism defining in India. कैसे यहाँ पर आप कास्ट, रिलीजन, फेथ, बिलीफ, रिचुअल्स, रिलीजन, सब चीज को देख के आप जो नेशन एक क्रिएट हो रहा है, how people are questioning state, how people are depending on the state. There is another concept called of Ranjit Guha, which is important. I want to give you a short summary of that. That is called hegemony without dominance. In his one of the article, he's writing about hegemony without the dominance without the hegemony. Dominance हो रहा है, मतलब आपके ऊपर एक आइडिया को वहां पर डाला जा रहा है, थोपा जा रहा है. That is the nationalism idea, modernity का idea. But how much it influence people? बिकॉज फॉर एग्जाम्पल 1950s 47 के बाद सब कोई यहाँ पर इंडिया में वोट देने लग गए. इलिटरेट हो, लिटरेट हो, इट डजेंट मैटर. गवर्नमेंट डिडंट टेक इन अकाउंट दैट एक आदमी 10 क्लास, 10 क्लास या 12 क्लास या फिर ग्रेजुएशन पढ़े होना चाहिए वोट देने के लिए. एवरीबडी वाज हैड द राइट टू वोट, and they got this voter ID card and started giving vote. But अमेरिका में ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है. अमेरिका में only in 1960, मैंने after 20 years the woman got the right to vote in America. So things एक इंडिजीनियसली रेवोल्यूशनाइज्ड होके एक नॉलेज क्रिएट होना, एंड इंडिया में वो चीजें जो ऊपर से बिकॉज ऑफ द कॉलोनियलिज्म, द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ कॉलोनियलिज्म, ये ऊपर से एक चीज को डोमिनेंस करना, डेमोक्रेटिक का आइडिया को, लिबरलिज्म का आइडिया को, सेकुलरिज्म का आइडिया को, हाउ इट इन्फ्लुएंस्ड योर पर्सनल लाइफ. क्या कोई चेंजेस आया लोअर लेवल में? क्या ये चेंजेस आया कम्युनिटी, कास्ट, रिलीजन में? हाउ मच चेंजेस, हाउ मच इट इन्फ्लुएंस टू पीपल? आपके पास लाइसेंस है, आप लाइसेंस के लिए गाड़ी के लिए जाते हो, लेकिन जब अभी भी ट्रैफिक रुकता है रेड लाइट में, तो आप फिर भी आगे निकल जाते हो और आप जेब्रा क्रॉसिंग के ऊपर अपना व्हील को रखते हो ताकि आप आगे निकल पाओ. You don't follow these rules of you will see many people, they don't follow the rules of which is written in the paper and pen. So these things, Ranjit Guha has questioned the dominance without hegemony. What is this essay you can read for your general understanding also. So I will stop here. I wanted to ask because of this, because of some technical issue, I couldn't present because while presenting this PowerPoint, it was again I was getting log out from my screen. So tell me if you have any question. I will take care of that.
Ma'am, what's the basic difference between Western school of thought and Cambridge school of thought? Because they were both colonial mindset actually. So what's the
Uh,
basic difference?
you are saying that what is the difference between colonial school of thought and Cambridge school of thought? Uh, you can say Cambridge colonial school of thought emerged in your when the yeah, with the
ସେତେବେଳେ ବୋଧେ କ୍ଲାସ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇନଥିଲା।
hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Namaskar.
Please mute yourself. Uh, yes, yes. Ask Bandita. Yes, ask question. Yeah.
ବୋଧେ
Yes, you can ask the questions. Please go on. I will explain all of you.
ତାର କ୍ଲାସ
Okay. So let me take this question which asked by Patit. And colonial school of understanding is developed in your early 19th century by the administrative officers. Now, this knowledge tradition which is created by the Britisher, created for the Britishers. Okay, the colonial school जो था वो ब्रिटेन में जो ब्रिटिश एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑफिसर जो इंडिया में आएंगे उनको ट्रेन करने के लिए था। वो जेम्स
ଏହା
मिल
ସବୁ
फॉर एग्जांपल, James Mill, he never came to India. He never visited India practically, and he wrote about India in his book uh, completely on the basis of whatever book reading material was available in the Oxford and Cambridge. So he took this help of secondary material about the idea of Orientalist. Not he never visited India or he had no real experience what India was. Utilitarians, the British administrative officer, they were not historians. They were not professional historians or researcher. Uh, uh, please, please, you mute yourself. If you don't have any question, please mute yourself. It's echoing. So, these are the colonial. James Mill, Vincent Smith are best example. Odisha, for example, the first Odisha history was written by the Andrew Stelling. Okay, James Pegg and Andrew Stelling. There are a lot of history were wrote down during this time, and they divided Indian history on the basis of religion, like ancient Hindu kingdom, Hindu India, and then medieval Sultanate, Muslim India, medieval India, and the British India. Okay, divide and rule
ମ୍ୟୁଟ
policy
କରନ୍ତୁ କହୁଛି
showing
ମ୍ୟୁଟ
showing
କେମିତି
India
କରିବ?
showing India as a backward, as an uncivilized country was their main agenda while writing the Indian history, and completely neglected
ମ୍ୟୁଟ
the
ହେଲେ
Indian
ୟାକୁ
language.
ଶୁଣାଯିବ କି?
Oh, please. The but the Cambridge is a completely historian group which is still there. You can say that them as a neo-colonialist. Uh, like I will give you this the example of another Cambridge historian, Tirthankar Roy. I have read his book called Economic History of India, and you will not believe that he has given all the statistics and in his book. वो पूरा statistics उसमें दिखा रहे हैं, like Anil Seal has says that Naroji and R.C. Das they exaggerated the amount of drain of wealth. It never happened. Britishers they were also suffered, and उनको जब administration करना पड़ रहा है तो भी problem हो रहा है. इंडिया वाज एक्सप्लॉइटेड बाय ओन इंडियन पीपल. जब यहाँ की जो एलिटिस्ट हैं या ट्राइबल एरिया में भी जो एलिटिट क्लास है, दे नेगोशिएटेड विद द ब्रिटिशर्स. दे नेगोशिएटेड. सो व्हाट motive of Cambridge school was to legitimize the rule of colonialism. Okay, so that's why it's quite different, because colonial school was dominated by this administrative officer, non-historical people, while the Cambridge school is a completely a discipline, a new philosophical thought which emerged in 60s and 70s, grow out of failure of democracy in India. वो बोले कि ये फेल्यूर है डेमोक्रेसी का, इसमें लोगों का वॉइस नहीं है, कॉमन लोगों का वॉइस नहीं है, कास्ट सिस्टम है, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है, पॉवर्टी है, आप लोगों को बस दे दिया गया है एक टू नेशन, you don't know how to rule it. So that type of explanation they gave, and they said that ब्रिटिशर्स होते तो और ये ऐसे ये ही मॉडर्निटी को लेके आए, अदरवाइज आपका नहीं होता, रेलवे ये लेके आए, एजुकेशन सिस्टम ये लेके आए, आप वो सिर्फ अच्छा अच्छा चीजें जो कॉलोनियल बोले ना, आपको लेजिटिमाइजेशन जो लेजिटिमाइज दे लेजिटिमाइज द प्रोसेस ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म, that they talk on the behalf of capitalism, they talk on the behalf of colonialism and Britain. That was the main propaganda of Cambridge School. So that's why it's a difference. Otherwise, both are the Western, both school belong to the Western philosophy. The next question, anybody else? Anyone else can ask me
Ma'am,
if you're,
uh,
yes, Divya.
there is five thoughts, but I have only four thoughts are written here. Another five, tell me, ma'am, please. One is colonial school, second is nationalist, third Marxist, fourth Cambridge, and another five.
Subaltern, it is there in your fourth block. Subaltern,
Okay.
सबल्टन स्कूल के लिए आपको एक जो मेन राइटर है सबल्टन स्कूल में, द टू राइटर यू कैन रीड, फर्स्ट इज रंजीत गुहा, what he is because he is the first he is the founder of this subaltern group in and in Stanford. He was a student, no I'm forgetting the name of the institution where he was to study, but he went to the West Europe and he started writing about Indian subaltern against this Marxist notion of history, against this Marxist notion of history. He blamed that not to nationalist, not to Marxist, they are talking on the behalf of this peasant and tribal, their political consciousness, their idea, and वो लोग उनको तुम उनको ऐसे देख रहे हो ट्राइबल लोगों को जैसे वो एक सप्रेस सब्जेक्ट है, उनका वॉइस को आप नेग्लेक्ट कर रहे हो, एलिटिस्ट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आप बाइनरी में देख रहे हो, एक ऑप्रेस्ड क्लास है, एक ऑप्रेस करने वाला है, यू आर नॉट लुकिंग एट दिस द डेवलपमेंट, द आइडिया ऑफ दिस पीपल, हाउ दे, व्हाट वाज देयर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, what was their demand. Ranjit Guha work on the peasant and tribal movement to understand the nationalism in India is good. The second is Partha Chatterjee's idea, which is there in your block 1, chapter 1, unit 1 जो है, he's describing all the definition from the Anderson to Gellert to Partha Chatterjee. So Partha Chatterjee's nationalism is concept of nationalism is you can read on in under the subaltern perspective, where he is talking about this faith, religion, local as well as global. uh, Shared history जिसको बोलते हैं shared history, history 1 and history 2 was another subalternist historian Dipesh Chakrabarty has pointed out. Means आप आपका खुद का एक ट्रेडिशनल आइडिया भी है, आपका खुद का कल्चरल वैल्यूज भी है, आपके खुद का एक आप यू कांट फॉरगेट दैट यू यू आर you have a bonding with your own culture, caste, community, as well as you are following this the idea of nation and nationalism. You are giving votes, you are supporting political parties, you are questioning the states, but you have same time you have a feeling out of anything else. So Partha Chatterjee's idea of nationalism is developed in 1980s, and subaltern, that is subaltern group. Okay, and for your understanding, subaltern, most of the people वो बोलते हैं कि subaltern means is the history from below, but let me tell you, history from below is the neo-Marxist idea, which is propagated by Eric Hobsbawm and your Eric Hobsbawm, but history from below is different, and Ranjit Guha subaltern historiography is different. Okay, you can read that in your detail. Uh,
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
okay, yeah. Anything else?
Ma'am, today we have completed block 4 also. One, two, three, four.
Yes, there was a question from Kovalvai. Yes, the nationalism, like I told you in the first slide, that nationalism idea was emerged in 18th and 19th century. The idea, it's not at all equivalent to what Gana Sangha Rashtra, what we mean here. It's completely different. It is a Western idea, no doubt. But we have a new version of nationalism. There is an Indian version of nationalism. There is African version of nationalism. They have their own point of view. Like I've told you, आइडिया आता है लेकिन वो जब इम्प्लीमेंट होता है तो वो अपने हिसाब से होता है. वो लोग उसको अपने हिसाब से इम्प्लीमेंट करता है. जापान हैज देयर ओन वैल्यू ट्रेडिशन. दे विल नॉट फॉरगेट. जापानीज लोग अपना वो अपना ट्रेडिशन वैल्यू को नहीं भूलते, लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम दे हैव ए स्ट्रॉन्ग बॉन्डिंग एज ए नेशन. Okay, so yes, next Sunday we'll meet again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.